Welcome to the Million Pound Mission Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Shively, the PhD, the previously heavy dude, and I'm on a 1 million pound mission. Now, I've personally lost over 100 pounds, and I've applied what I've learned from my own transformation journey to help my hometown clients lose over 35,000 pounds in just 5 years. Now I'm on a mission to produce over 1 million pounds of results by delivering my best weekly tips, motivation, inspirational stories, and transformation strategies so that you can gain clarity about what you need to do to reach your goals and give you the confidence to take action. The perfect time to start taking action is right now. So let's do this. Hey everybody, before we dive into this episode, I want to welcome on a brand new sponsorship partner, Ultra Human. Now, as always, I was a client of these guys first. I chased them down. I said, I love your stuff. I'd love to get you involved as a sponsor. So they agreed, and here we are. Now, these products are amazing. They have 3 products, and they are the best of the best. One is a nootropic called Tao, T-A-O. Some pronounce it Dow, but I'm from Indiana, so I pronounce it Tao. You're just lucky I don't pronounce it Teo. And it's an amazing nootropic. I've been trying it either late morning or even midday as a little cognitive boost, and you feel the difference. You don't feel jittery, but you feel very focused and dialed in. I love it. They also have a Keto Plus MCT product. Completely changed my opinion about exogenous ketones. You guys have to check this out if you want to avoid keto flu and have a little bit better workouts while you're on the ketogenic diet. And they have a product called Amino Code. It's the best. It is the absolute best amino acid product I have ever used. It is amazing. My recovery is off the charts, and I love this stuff. So hopefully you can tell that I am all in on Ultra Human. I want you to check them out at theultrahuman.net. That's theultrahuman.net. Hit up the promo code MPM20. Get 20% off as a Million Pound Mission podcast listener. Now, after this episode, I want you to listen in as I'm going to give you the details on my brand new Million Pound Mission Bootcamp and how you can get involved. If you can't wait that long, just go to millionpoundmission.com. Make sure you get on the wait list so you get first dibs on those roster spots for the Million Pound Mission Bootcamp launching in July. Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the Million Pound Mission Podcast. It's your buddy Adam, the PhD, the previously heavy dude. And this is episode number 150. Get into mindfulness mode with Bruce Langford. Now, you've probably heard the term, I'm so in my own head right now. And you've most likely also heard the term mindfulness. Now, being in our own head seems to be a negative thing, but being mindful is supposed to be very positive. And the question is, how do we walk that fine line? And what the heck is the difference? Right? So today I'm bringing in my friend and a mindfulness expert to help us figure this out. My main man, Bruce Langford, is a mindfulness coach who helps his clients feel more grounded so that they have less stress and anxiety. He's also the host of the super awesome podcast called Mindfulness Mode. And I want you to listen to this conversation because Bruce and I dive deep on mindfulness. It's one of my favorite topics to discuss, and Bruce is an expert. So we talk about things like his definition of mindfulness. We talk about the difference between being mindful and being in our own head. We talk about his favorite mindfulness techniques. We even talk about some techniques that we can use to help our children be more mindful. I found that very helpful for me especially. And then we also talk about how we can be more mindful as we try to achieve that balance, that quest to find balance between our lifestyle and our health. So I know you're going to really enjoy this episode. Bruce is a great speaker. He's a really good dude. And without further delay, I want you to check out episode number 150. Get into mindfulness mode with Bruce Langford. All right, Bruce, welcome to the Million Pound Mission Podcast. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great, Adam. Thanks for inviting me on the show. I'm so excited. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. I think my audience is going to walk away with some really high-value action steps and tools after this interview because you're going to bring some unique knowledge to the podcast in areas that we haven't talked about before. And we're going to really dig into mindfulness and how you've become an expert in that area and an influencer in that area. And I think that'd be a good place to start is, what's a little bit about your background and how you became so interested in mindfulness?
Well, I grew up on a farm, and I was thinking back to my food habits and what it was like growing up on the farm with my 4 brothers and 2 sisters, and it was a bread world. We ate bread, and more bread, and my mom baked bread all the time, and so it was all about the bread. And then not only the bread, but we put sugar on everything, like brown sugar, white sugar, maple syrup. Anything that was sugar, we just put it on. Every meal we sat down, there was a pitcher of maple syrup. We dumped it on cereal. We dumped it. If we had a piece of apple pie, we put it in a bowl and we poured syrup and milk on it. And man, I don't know how I wasn't 300 pounds overweight, but when I got in my teens, I was overweight. And as soon as I moved out, I was 17, 18, I moved into my first place, and I'm like, man, I don't like this. I don't like being overweight. And I just got rid of a lot of that stuff. I didn't eat so much bread anymore or so much sugar. But then I became a teacher. I became a music teacher. And, in answer to your question about how I got into mindfulness, well, I started to see how so many kids were being picked on and bullied. And I thought, this is terrible. And so I thought I can do something about this. I started my own business and I started doing presentations on bullying, anti-bullying stuff. And it was all about the music because I wanted to grab the attention of the audience, of the kids. And I was a music teacher, so I wrote songs. And I did this thing where I created an alter ego and I was a DJ. And I was a crazy DJ, not just kind of like the conservative Bruce. I was this crazy, zany guy that jumped around and did every crazy thing in the world. And then I'd sing songs and I'd pull up an instrument, I'd play the saxophone, I'd play the accordion, and then we'd go to commercial because we were live on the radio, on ATFM radio. But then I started to realize how, if you can teach kids and adults what it means to be mindful, then bullying will just naturally decrease. Bullying will start to just disappear because if you understand mindfulness, you're not going to go out and purposely bully other people. And secondly, if you understand mindfulness and other people are doing this stuff to you, you're going to deal with it in a completely different way than you normally would. So I started just becoming immersed in that whole mindfulness field. And now that's what I do all the time is I teach mindfulness. So there's a long way to that short question.
Yeah. I'm sure there are plenty of twists and turns in between there. Yeah. But I'm interested in how you define mindfulness. How do you explain to people when we talk about mindfulness, what exactly does that mean to you?
Well, mindfulness is living in the moment, focusing on now, not focusing so much on the past. And I meet people all the time that live in their past. They're all the time thinking about what happened and this kind of thing. But with mindfulness, focus on now, not so much the future, not so much the past. But the other big thing with mindfulness is to try not to be a person who judges. Try not to judge situations so much. Try not to judge other people so much. And if you can reduce the amount of judging you do in your life, then you will judge yourself less. You won't beat yourself up like so many of us do. So that's really the short answer on what mindfulness is to me.
I think what you said there was really key, and I hope our listeners dialed into that because I feel like judgment is the key term that seems to separate being mindful versus being in our own head. People say that to me a lot when in weight loss. So I'm in my own head about this. I need to get out of my own head. And that seems to be where they cross that line where they're actually judging themselves in a negative light. Does that make sense?
Yes, it totally does. Yeah. We get in our own way all the time and we think we know what we want and yet we are bullying ourselves. And that's how all that anti-bullying work that I did comes into play when I coach people because yes, I'm talking about mindfulness, but I have to teach people not to bully themselves, which seems to be a natural thing that we tend to do as human beings.
Yeah, it's something that I see a lot, and I've never even thought about it in that light of actually bullying ourselves. I'm going to steal that from you and start using it with people that I'm trying to – I think that's just the perfect way to describe it is we beat ourselves up. We are, like you said, we're too focused on the future, or we're being beat up by things that we've not let go of from the past. And instead of being present and thinking about what can I control, what can I not control. So what would you say are a few just initial techniques or steps that we can start implement to start being more mindful in the right way?
Well, there are three things that I like to focus on, and one of them, the first one, is habit. Focus on what your habits are in your life that are getting you where you're going. And if you stop and just take the time to focus on what those habits are, you might think to yourself, well, yeah, I want to ditch 3 or 4 of those habits, but a couple of the habits I have are awesome. And so if you systematically think about what habits are working for you, what habits you want to bring into your life that will help you, and what habits you want to ditch, then you can change your life almost overnight just by focusing on habits. The second thing is focusing on activity, getting active. Making sure that it's not, like we said, all in our head. We think about what we want to do. We think about this. We think about that. We have to just do it. We have to get out there, get active, and do it. And, as far as being fit, really the only way you're going to do it is by getting off the couch. Yes, you can eat the best foods, the right foods, and cut the sugar and everything else, but you also have to move. So activity is huge, and it's huge no matter whether you're focusing on your weight and your health, or whether you're trying to achieve something in your business, you're trying to feel better in general. You just need to move. And it's hard because it seems like there's this wiring in our brains that says, nah, don't move, just sit there. I have it. And I know most of the people that I coach, they have it too. They know they should. Everybody's saying it, but there's this alter ego that's saying, no, don't do that. And the third thing that I like to talk about is meditation. Is taking the time to just give your brain a break, give it the space, and focus on, less. Focus on less, because we are so much focused on many things in this society, whether it be social media, it's games, it's like what we need to do to get rich, whatever it is, we're focusing on a zillion things normally. So take the time to meditate.
So what type of meditation do you personally try to use? And I know that there are lots of different types. You have to kind of fit the right type to the right person. But what type do you use, and why do you prefer that type of meditation?
Well, I like silent meditation myself, but I just didn't arrive there in one day. Like I started with short periods of meditation where I'd just take a 5-minute break, and I'd sit down and I'd put on an app that had like some sounds of the waves or water or nature sounds. And then I'd notice my breathing. I'd focus on that. I'd pay attention to my in and my out breathing. And after about 5 minutes, I think, man, I feel a lot better. I feel refreshed. But then, then I'd make it longer. I used to meditate every morning and every night. Now at this time in my life, I meditate every morning for 20 minutes. And it's silent meditation. I just sit down and I just have this silent time for 20 minutes. And after 20 minutes, a chime goes, and that's it. And my dog meditates with me.
Nice.
And my dog loves meditating too. So that's what I do.
Nice. Yeah, I think there's something empowering too about just starting your day and doing something for you and kind of owning that moment and saying, okay, there's a laundry list of things that I could be doing right now, but me first. And I think, with all the benefits of meditation that have been scientifically documented out there, I think that's actually one of the best side benefits. Is just creating that personal ownership, that sense of ownership, as saying I did something for myself and investing in us. So I think that's a huge thing. Now, you mentioned in your first tip there about habits.
Yeah.
And so you also mentioned about all this stuff. And this is something that I see. People, they get overwhelmed with all this stuff. And even if it's positive, like we're trying to create all these positive habits, but it's just like more, and then we have children and they need to be doing all these activities, more work, more, and so people just get overwhelmed with all that. So how do you help people sort and sift through the essential things that they need to be implementing, those very most important habits, focusing on those and letting some of those other things go? Because that can be really hard to do.
Yeah, I can. So what I do is I talk with my client, talk with them about what it is they want in their life. What's their big why? Why do they want to lose weight, or why do they want to do whatever it is with their business or whatever it is they're trying to achieve? And then we talk about it, and then I encourage them to journal, to just sit down and write. Sometimes the word journal scares people, so I hesitate to use that. But just sit down and write about why you want to do these things. How did you get here? What do you want in your life? What do you want your life to look like? And when we do that, and I go over it with them, we whittle it down to the one thing. Okay, this is where we're going. Does that feel right? Because previously you were going here, you were going there, you were going somewhere else, you were going all these different places. But no, you need to focus on one place. You're headed there. How are we going to get there? So that's what I do, Adam.
Yeah, and that simplification is huge, and it's so needed. And that's, sometimes we just need to have someone else tell us that too. I'm sure a lot of them thought like, well, I knew that. And a lot of us kind of beat ourselves up again going, well, I should have been able to figure that out myself. But that's not necessarily the case. We have to have somebody else just kind of go through, and it's like a snow plow. You have to clear the way a little bit with all the clutter and have someone give us some direction. Is that what we usually kind of find happens?
Yeah, that's totally it. Yeah, you're right on.
All right. So what about kids? 'Cause I know that initially with your interest in stopping bullying, and that's where working with children, that all kind of started this journey for you. So I've got children. I've got a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old. Mm-hmm. And so how do we teach them to be more mindful? What are some simple things to help our kids become more mindful? Some easy implementation tips that we can do.
Well, the easiest thing that I suggest is just reducing the amount of screen time, because that is one thing that gets their mind just going. And of course, these games are designed to do that. They're designed to pull you in and keep you there because you want to get to the next level, or you want to do whatever it is that game designer wanted you to do. That game designer is just like a damn good coach. Right? They know where they want you to go, and they've just set out to make it happen. So if you can get your kids off the devices, spend some time on them for sure, but limit it to a certain amount of time so that they understand, when you're riding in the car, sometimes you just look out the window. Sometimes you don't watch a movie or play a game. Now, this is tough in this society because a lot of kids, they're just on a device all the time, or they're watching videos all the time, and it's tough. But that's what I suggest, is to just get your children to learn how to spend time doing nothing instead of doing all these things. Does that make sense? That's
super interesting. And I just recently implemented a new strategy with our children. We kind of created a currency of screen time. That's the currency that that we operate in. So if they do something that we don't want to, they're naughty or whatever, they get in a fight with each other, then we take away screen time, and they have kind of a base that they operate from in their screen time account. But then they have to do healthy things like exercise or chores, and they can earn a little bit of extra time. But, I love the thought of implementing some sort of mindfulness practice in there, like go in your room and sit quietly for 5 minutes, and then, or whatever, and just making them just basically unplug for a little bit, like you said, to do that. No, so what would you suggest if somebody, let's say their kids just have a ton of screen time going right now, they are like, Bruce is right, I need to reduce this. I mean, do you cut it in half? Like, where do you start that journey?
I would reduce it gradually. So I would say, from now on, before school, that's going to be a screen-free zone. So you just start that way, or, this 2 hours after school will be screen free, or whatever it is. Usually it's better to start with the time, before bedtime, the 2 hours before bedtime, screen free, because the more you can get your kids away from screens previous to bedtime, the better it will be, because their brains are developing, and we don't want our kids to have this buzz going on in their brains just before they go to sleep. It's not a good thing.
Yeah, and then also the additional science of just the blue light and how that interrupts our sleep patterns and things
That's
like
right.
that. So I think that's a great recommendation.
Exactly.
I got to brag on my son a little bit. One of the more proud dad moments I've had recently is, I'm cleaning downstairs or whatever, and I go upstairs. I hear him up there, and he has built like a fort. He's very creative in that way, and
yeah.
I'm pretty sure he used every towel and blanket in the house. So, I was like, okay, that's it's all good. But he's up there reading a book to his little sister, and I was like, that's cool. That's
great.
Yeah, that's the direction that I really want to encourage him to go more. So I thought that was pretty cool. Now,
totally.
So let's go back to adults. All right.
Yeah.
So in your opinion, what are our biggest roadblocks for mindfulness? So the people that you're working with, the people that are asking you questions that, you've got a huge podcast following. I'm sure you get a lot of people asking you questions. How can I fix this or that? What are our biggest roadblocks? Like, where are we messing ourselves up where we can't improve in our mindfulness?
Well, our biggest roadblocks, that's just that we are creating a story. And that story is usually, I don't have time. I don't have time to meditate. I don't have time to do some of these things that we talk about as mindfulness activities, getting out in nature, doing something for you, taking, 20 minutes to go out for a walk where you are not thinking about a zillion other things. So we create these stories about, I don't have time, I can't do this, I've got so many things that I have to do. And in fact, we can create the opposite story. I don't have time not to do this. I can't afford not to give my brain a break, because once I do that, I can not only help myself a lot more in my life, but I can help others too. I can be a better person for all of those other people that depend on me. So tell yourself that story.
I love that. I love the concept of shifting that story. My audience knows I'm a big Tony Robbins fan. He always talks about change your story, change your life.
Yeah.
And that's something that I found, is that we do tell ourselves that negative story, and then when we just decide to dip our toe in the water, the other side, we adjust, we adapt. And so an example that I give a lot is when I started taking set what I call free days from working. So Fridays and Saturdays, I don't do any work at all. I'm not allowed to check work email. I put on autoresponders. I don't accept phone call, work calls, things like that. I don't do creative anything with work. I turn it off. And Friday is my day, and I can do whatever I want, because my wife goes to work, my kids go to school, and I'm able to be present and really kind of rejuvenate myself. And then Saturday is family day. And at first I thought, there's no way in hell I'll be able to pull this off. Like, not only working 5 days a week when I'm normally working 12 days a week, it seems like.
Yeah.
But I adapted, and I became more efficient on my other days. And I had to let some things go. I had to delegate. And now the next transition is that within the next month, I'm switching to a 4-day work week, and I'm going to go Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And again, I've got that, like, how am I going to pull this off? I'm as busy as I've ever been, but I feel like I need that. We've got a family member that is going through chemotherapy, and they need us to be there to help them. So I'm dedicating some weekend travel to go there and help her out. And, but I felt like, this is what needs, I was just trying to be more mindful. Like you talk about it, like this, in this moment, what's the most important thing? Is it sending emails, or is it recording another podcast, or is it being there for somebody that needs me to be there for them? And that's what I feel like to me, that's what mindfulness is all about.
Yeah, that's awesome, Adam. Way to go for doing that and taking the initiative.
Well, so speaking of, taking initiative, where do you feel like, so somebody's probably listening going, okay, this is making sense. Bruce is making sense in what he's saying. I need to start doing something, become more mindful. How can we do that? Like, what are some initial, just the starter course of being more mindful?
Well, in my opinion, start with the meditation part. Start by giving your brain a break and sit down and take 5 minutes and meditate. I like to do it first thing when I wake up. And and that's what I like to tell my clients too. And just for 5 minutes, just get that routine going, get that habit going. And the other habit that you can get going is to just take 5 to 10 minutes to jot down some thoughts about where you're going, what you want in your life. So those two things, that's where to start.
Yeah, those are two things that I do every day. I've talked both about, I've done an episode on meditation. I've done an episode on my journaling rituals and how I take time to do that morning and night. And also just with my goal setting and some of that. So I feel like it always helps to have an expert like yourself reinforce things that I've been trying to preach to my audience. So thank you very much, Bruce.
You're welcome.
So one of the concepts that I struggle with, and I feel like a lot of people struggle with, is the concept of more versus enough. And what is enough? Do I need more income? Do I need more, more Facebook followers? Do I need, just being in that place where I feel like, okay, I'm satisfied with this and I don't necessarily need more. So what would you suggest on how I and other people can think through this struggle zone of, like I said, there's so many people just go, we've got this mindset of I just need to cram as much as possible in, and there's no relaxed pace. There's no gaps in our day. There's no mental time to just pull back and relax. It's just more and more and more. How do we sort through the more versus enough conversation?
Well, again, it's about changing your story. And if you believe that the more you do and the more active you are, the more successful you'll be, the more money you'll have, then you're just going to keep on running yourself ragged. But if you change that story and you flip it and you think, no, the more I delegate and the more I give time for myself and my family, then my life is going to become more successful. And then when you are working, you're truly working and achieving what you need to achieve. And all of that other time, you are freeing up the space so that you will be successful, the space so that your mind will be able to think about things in a sensible way and, think about that one thing you're heading toward. And so changing that story and flipping it so that you're actually doing less will help you to achieve more in your life. But you have to believe that.
Yeah, and that's something that I've proven to myself over and over again with the example I gave earlier about working fewer hours. I've put myself into the hospital 3 different times from working so many hours. Like, years and years and years ago, I would pass out. I would have anxiety attacks, things like that. And eventually I had to make that shift of, okay, I actually can work less. I can delegate more. I can achieve more. So, it'll be interesting the next step of the journey there. But that's something that's just always on my mind is, okay, for example, I just hit a big life goal. For the past 10 years, I've had a goal of paying off my mortgage in my 30s. And I did that last week. I paid off my mortgage.
Awesome. Last week. Congratulations.
Yeah, last week. So I was psyched about that. And, so I kind of revisit the more versus enough. I'm like, okay, now the financial responsibility isn't as much as it used to be. So do I need to make more income or is this enough? And, and so that concept tends to resurface during these major life shifts. And I feel like it's an important question. It is part of being mindful.
It is.
But not getting in our head. Like you distinguished earlier, that's the key thing, not judging ourselves.
That's right. That's right.
All right. So I want to make sure that my audience is able to connect with you. You've got an amazing podcast. I messaged you a while back. We met in San Diego a few weeks ago, and like the next week, somebody texted me, I'm really struggling with being in my head. Do you know any podcasts about being more mindful? I'm like, yes, I do. Let's get into mindfulness mode. So let's talk a little bit about your podcast, how people can follow that, how people can connect with you, and if it makes sense, maybe even be coached by you personally.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, mindfulnessmode.com. You can find it on iTunes. You can find it on all the apps. And yeah, you can email me directly, bruce@mindfulnessmode.com. And people do all the time. My listeners do, and they reach out to me and they tell me things about their life and how mindfulness has changed it. And, I had this guy just email me a couple of days ago, and he said, I'm in Brazil. I'm a retinal surgeon. And every day I drive from hospital to hospital to do all these surgeries, I have your podcast on. And he said, and you, with your guests, you are what helps me to become more focused and just more centered and grounded. And he said, and my patients are giving me feedback, and they're like, hey, like, you're changing. Like, what's happening? You seem different. And, he says, it's just makes a difference being more mindful. So yeah, tune into the podcast. Yeah. Send me an email. Tell me how it's affecting you, how it's helping you. Tell me how I can help you. Because that's what I find is that when people connect with me and I can help them step by step, bit by bit, habit by habit to get more mindful and become more focused and centered on what you want in your life, it totally changes your life. It's a transition for sure.
Yes, you change that story, you change your life, you increase that mindfulness, and the sky's the limit. So I think that you've definitely delivered some huge, huge tools that my audience is going to be able to implement right away. And I appreciate you spending some time. I've got one more important question for you, Bruce.
For sure.
And it's a little bit, I wouldn't call it off topic, but it's a little bit of a pivot, but I feel like it's important. All right. So you mentioned bullying, and that's how the journey kind of came through for you and into mindfulness and now the podcast and the coaching. But what are some just simple, high impact things that we can do to help prevent bullying? And because that's a major issue still. Like, and people, I deal with people that probably have been bullied because of how they look and their weight and things like that. So, it is an issue with this audience. But what can we do personally to help prevent bullying from happening, whether it's adults or whether it's with children?
Well, the biggest thing we can do is take care of ourselves so that when somebody does say something brutal like that, or they do something nasty, which is bullying, then we can deal with it in a healthy manner, which means that, you don't move into victim mode. And even though there are times, Adam, we all feel like victims. Absolutely. But if we move into victim mode and you just kind of like, oh, I give up, I'm a victim, I'm overweight, or I'm I'm not healthy, I'm not successful, I'm just this victim, then that's when you lose all sense of mindfulness. All of a sudden you're focused on the past, you're focused on the future, you're focused on, judging yourself and everything else. So, you just have to stay grounded and focus on the mindfulness. And you can do that with what I said, just starting a meditation practice and maybe just writing down what it is you want in your life, those kinds of things, and not letting the bullying situations control you, because that's what happens sometimes. Don't let those situations control you.
Yeah, I think you've given us a nice little roadmap, Bruce, of how to navigate from that victim mode into mindfulness mode. And I appreciate that, my friend. I appreciate your time. I love your positivity. And I know that you're a busy guy. You've got a lot going on with your podcast, your coaching. So I appreciate you investing time in me and in my mission. And as I've been telling people, like, we are tracking the mission. The Million Pound Mission Tracker is live. We're getting ready to cross, at the time of this recording, 52,000 pounds on the way to a million. So we're 5% and beyond now. But somebody will listen to this, Bruce, and they will be inspired by it, and they will make a change, and they will add to our Million Pound Mission. And whether or not, like, maybe they don't need to lose any weight and they don't, but it changes them. That's the important thing. That's the impact that we're looking for. And so I appreciate you and your time, my friend. It's very meaningful to me.
Thank you, Adam. It's great to be on your show. Thanks so much.
All right, everybody. Now you know what time it is. It's time to implement. It's time to put your inspiration into action. I know Bruce gave us a lot of really key tips and tools that we can implement right away. So within the next 24 hours, what is it going to be? What is going to be your action step where you can start to create that mindfulness and start to build that personal momentum? And that, my friends, is how we get out there. That's how we own it. Every meal, every workout, every day. I will see you on the next episode. Hold on just 1 second there. Good looking. I promise you before the show started that I had some more info about the Million Pound Mission Bootcamp, and I am here to deliver that to you. You don't want to miss out. Basically, here's what happened. I have 2 amazing programs I've been running for quite a while now locally with my local clients. The Meltdown Bootcamp, it's my just classic bootcamp format, and then a newer product that I call Push 56. And I thought, you know what? I think it'd be really cool to be able to deliver this to anybody, anywhere. So I combined the 2 products. I reformulated them to put them in an online format, and I'm bringing it to you guys starting in July. It looks like we're going to try to do 1 8-week boot camp per quarter. So the July boot camp will be our kickoff. You can get all the dates, all the info. You can get on the wait list to get first dibs on the roster spots because I only have a certain amount of coaches, so we cannot take an unlimited amount of people. So go to millionpoundmission.com, millionpoundmission.com, and get all of the details. You're going to love it. It includes workouts, online workouts, also workouts and prescriptions you can do at your gym, at home, body weight, strength training, whatever. It's all in there. Then it also combines a meal plan. You're going to get to select from our clean eating plan, our paleo plan, our keto plan, or intermittent fasting plan, whatever fits your goals, whatever seems like the best fit for you. That's the program we're going to deliver there. And we have accountability built in. You're going to have an option where you can upgrade and get an accountability coach that touches base with you every single day. We've also got group accountability with a private Facebook group and the Push 56 format. You're going to love. I'm going to have a weekly assignment for you to dig in with that brain food, with that strategic thinking, so we quit messing up with those same danger zones that always trip us up. This is going to be a powerful program. Like I said, roster spots will be limited. Go to millionpoundmission.com. Get on the wait list. It doesn't cost anything to get on the wait list. There's no commitment, but you will get first dibs. You'll have a week prior notice when registration opens up for the Million Pound Mission Bootcamp. Check it out.